If only she had her bicycle. She longed to reacquaint herself with her delivery routes, her old friends and haunts. First, she ought to visit Gabby and Maman. But Lebrun shepherded her into the car, settled himself beside her, and ordered the driver to go. When Louise Delac's summons had come, Yvette's first instinct had been to refuse. Reliving her wartime experiences, particularly the treatment she'd suffered at the movie star's hands, was something she'd wished never to do. But the chance to return home to Paris, all expenses paid, was so very tempting. And when she discovered that by leaving a week earlier than proposed, she could arrive in time for Monsieur Dior's first-ever fashion show, that clinched the matter. She had obtained some catalog work as a mannequin in New York, but the American designers had wanted a strong, wholesome, sporty look. Yvette's high cheekbones and masses of curling, honey-brown hair could not compensate for her ethereal thinness, the pale translucency of her skin, or the disconcertingly cat-like shape of her hazel eyes. Besides, everyone knew the true home of haute couture was Paris. If she could be part of Monsieur Dior's first show, even in some small way, or even better, if she could talk Monsieur Dior into giving her a job as a mannequin at his new fashion house, testifying for Louise Delac would be worth it. Inevitably, thinking of the couturier brought memories of his sister, Catherine. Guilt uncoiled inside Yvette, spreading its tentacles, enfolding her in its grip. If not for her impulsiveness, if not for the foolish mistakes she'd made. Monsieur Lebrun's pedantic, clipped speech interrupted her thoughts. "The charges against Louise Delac are very grave, mademoiselle." He described them, and her stomach clenched. Treason. She had expected they would prosecute Louise for collaboration only. Collaboration horizontale, they called it, sleeping with the enemy. The authorities must have discovered more about Louise's activities than Yvette had anticipated. Suddenly, her own position turned precarious. She caught the edge of Lebrun's query. "Does that suit?" He was waiting for her answer. "I beg your pardon, monsieur. I was not listening." Lebrun frowned. "The trial begins in less than 2 weeks, mademoiselle. I will let you get settled tomorrow, but the next day we must meet to begin preparing your statement. Shall we say 1 o'clock? Yvette tried to pay attention as he outlined the judicial process, but his voice soon slipped from her mind's grasp, became mere background noise. She gazed out of the window, drinking Paris in, its tree-lined boulevards and sidewalk cafes, its grand stone terraces with their blue-tiled roofs. Plenty of military vehicles and troops still about, but friendly ones, and not a swastika in sight. As they headed toward La Madeleine Church, her heart gave a sudden, hard thump. But the driver turned left, then right, zigzagging toward the Place Vendôme. Her shoulders relaxed. Before anything else, she must see Gabby and Maman. But if merely driving in the direction of their tiny apartment on the Rue Royale made her sick and dizzy, how would she bring herself to face her sister? She had not opened a single one of Gabby's letters, much less answered them. It had been enough to know they were alive, Catherine and Gabby and Maman. She needed very badly to put the war behind her, to move on. If she'd allowed even one of those memories to seep in through the walls she'd built around herself, it would have become a flood. She would have drowned in them. Now, because of the trial, she would be forced to relive it all. Had it been a mistake to return? But what else could she have done? Forcing her thoughts elsewhere, Yvette said to Lebrun, "I hear rationing is still in force." There was no masking tape on the shop windows or sandbags stacked against the walls anymore, but the effects of war were still apparent from the queue outside the butchery they passed, the small pâtisserie whose display windows stood empty, the scant vegetables for sale at the grocer's stall. "You will not have to worry about rationing at the Ritz," said Lebrun dryly, as the Renault swung into the Place Vendôme and pulled up outside the hotel entrance. Guiltily, she acknowledged that of course this was true. But what memories this hotel brought back. She'd been there many times before, but she felt even more out of place as a guest than as a shabbily dressed delivery girl from the house of Le Long. The foyer, with its high ornate ceilings, dripping chandeliers.